Welcome back to the class, everyone. Today we have another GAC battle going to YouTube, kind of recapping what happened, learning from the counters, just seeing how it went overall. And this is our opponent today. His name is Max. Just as a reminder, we are in currently round 3 of the week, and we've won 2, which is really dangerous because I'm pretty sure that means the following weeks, regardless of how this match goes, are going to be really, really rough. But that kind of is what it is. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and scout our opponents. We're going to be doing this from now on, showing kind of the roster and what they said on defense before we actually do the attack. I think it gives more context, and it's going to be better content for everyone involved. That being said, so this is him. He actually, roster-wise, is the weaker of most of our opponents that we fought this week. He has all 6 GLs, but he doesn't have Star Killer. And he doesn't have as many R9s as the other opponents have had either. He also doesn't have as many Omicrons. That being said, he's in this position for a reason. I think there's a lot of skill here. His legacy lifetime banners were really high. He had over 1 million, which is more than our previous 2 opponents. But I think this is still going to be a very hard match, and I don't think it's a guaranteed win by any standard, just because he has a quote-unquote weaker roster. The one thing that I do want to point out before we get into the rest of the stats is the fact that he doesn't have an R9 JML. I think this is crucial. I think in this match specifically, it is going to be very, very, very important. Having an R9 JML when our opponent didn't, and when both of us set JMK on defense, was the difference maker all of last week. So I think it's going to be a difference maker in this match as well. I guess we'll see. I do not know the results. We have not started attacking now. There's an opponent, so this is going to be a little bit of a surprise. But that being said, let's go ahead and check out what's going over here. And actually, let's not look at that right now. But I want to take a look at his overall roster and seeing how we compare. He has a pretty balanced roster compared to us, despite having more Galactic Legends. So he has, more GP. GP doesn't really matter. I don't care about GP. Relic levels overall, he has 140, which actually isn't a lot from what we've been facing. Both of our previous opponents had 300 more, so that's not a huge concern. The 2 GLs over us, that is pretty big concern. He is missing 2 of the GAC Omicrons, including Idens and Zams. And I think both of those are going to play a part in today's match. He doesn't have either. Mods are pretty solid, not as good as ours, 240 plus 15s. It's pretty darn good. Yeah, that's pretty much his overall player card. That being said, let's go ahead and get back to the ground here. Just want to show you guys what is on offense and defense before we actually get into the matches. So we'll explain my defense first. I am pretty much doing straight up JMK and Executor and Prey. Most of my defense is really not that hard. We put Darth Revan down just because there's a really slow Piet, so why not? We have CLS over here as well. I think it's going to be a little bit tricky. Don't have Nest with BAM. We're going to be trying to Nest solo his Iden, and then we have JMK. And this team, I think, is what is going to be the difference maker in this match. I don't know, but I think it's going to be a difference maker, because beating this team without an R9 JML and with your JMK on defense can prove to be very, very, very challenging. That being said, top wall is really kind of fodder. Most of this will probably get one shot. I'm not going to make too many comments on this. And then our back wall is even worse. And our back wall is utter garbage. This is typically what I do when I go against these opponents. They don't have R9 JML, and they put JMK on defense. So that's really nothing special back there. We'll go to his defense, and then the attack should start after that. So yeah, he put JMK on defense, and not only did he put JMK on defense, but he put JMK with Mace. And that is super, super, super important, because JMK with Mace is countered very easily by JML. One of the big reasons being in Kenobi's kit, when he calls someone to assist, he always calls the weakest ally to assist after that. So we're going to be getting a lot of assists from Mace, which are way less important than a character, say, like Ahsoka or Kat or even Padme, to continue to add to the protection up. The rest of the defense doesn't scare me too much. JML, we're probably just going to see Watt this. That's a terrible trade for him. Iden does not have the Omicron, to my knowledge, or at least she didn't at the point of lock. Yeah, she doesn't. So we are going to actually try Nest there. I think it is going to work. I guess we'll find out. Dash, really no idea what we're going to do there. Maybe Bounty Hunters, maybe Troopers, I don't know. Up top, I don't know if we're actually going to bite this. I don't really have something to take out Rey if he has Lord Vader in the back, and he typically places Lord Vader. So this might just not get attacked in general. Don't really have any counters in mind. I think the only counter that I really have in mind right now would be taking our leftover Jedi against Grievous. If we have to use Jedi Master Luke, Jedi Knight Luke, and Jedi Knight Revan versus that JMK comp down below, Bastila and the leftover Jedi can beat this. This Bad Batch tramples that. But yeah, we'll see. we'll see how things go. By the end of this, you guys will be watching the matches by now, so enjoy. All right, let's go ahead and get to the attacks now. So we do end up go ahead and taking our Savage / Nest versus Iden. The same reason we are taking in Savage this time is the same reason we did last time. Basically, we only needed about 10% potency, and then we could really just use the defense from there. A lot of people were asking in chat why we weren't taking in Farm Boy Luke if it gives way more tenacity. Well, how tenacity works, you only need to be 100% over what the enemy has at max. Which we did get there with Savage. The extra defense was really just a really big bonus. So here we're kind of looking at the team. You can see it's going fairly well. Reminder though, this Nest versus Iden, the Iden does not have the Omicron, which is why they're not gaining a significant amount of health protection back every turn. They're also not gaining turn meter, which I don't really know which is better or which is worse out of the two. You can see the death mark really doesn't do anything, even with Stark's bonus damage. Huge misplay by myself right there. We tried to use an attack that couldn't crit on a character, or we tried to use an attack that couldn't dispel crit immunity, so we didn't get to use our bonus crit damage. And you see from here, there's really no danger of losing, but this team, like we were saying before, is really far from the ideal Iden team. It wasn't as high relics as we wanted it to be. Like, Shower and Stark here, they're pretty high, but they just doesn't really cut it to call this a consistent counter that we're going to be able to use a lot. Wow, we just made the same mistake again. All right, but we got Stark down. Shore really doesn't also as tanky. Iden can die as many times as she wants. One thing that I think is, again, there are some negatives and positives to the gear. There are some negatives and positives to the Omicron. But one of the negatives to having a few gear 12s in there is just simply that they died really quickly, and because that we lost their buffs, and because that we lost crit damage. We're going to go ahead and take C versus JML here. I typically really like to take Watt, especially after seeing kind of how this battle went. I really like to take Watt, but we didn't really have the luxury, or at least I didn't think we did, because I was expecting him to have Lord Vader in the back, and I needed my SLKR Watt to be able to take that down. So you can see we taken a lot of junk Sith and then just Royal Guard for funsies here, just so that we would get enough dispels and we would be able to get the link off, so that Jedi Knight Luke would do significantly less damage. And this is kind of sketchy. Like, I don't love this. So obviously Sith Assassin died right at the beginning, which made sure that we were in ability blocks. That was nice. But they're doing quite a bit of damage. I believe this JML is R8. The lead ability is doing a lot of damage. It's not just Jedi Knight Luke critting. It's any character calling anyone to assist. So this does get a little bit scary here. We're able to zap Jedi Knight Luke right there, which that's great. And then I believe we go ahead and go after Shock over there. Go ahead and steal more of her protection. We wanted to try to get as much as we could. I was also afraid that old Ben would taunt and that we would get stuck behind his taunt. We went after Shock T there for some reason. That was pretty dumb. Really should be going after the characters that aren't linked, because we want the characters that are linked to stay around for a while. So like I said, they're doing quite a bit of damage here with the whatchamacallit ability. We go ahead and hit JML. Just kind of make sure we don't kill Shock and kill the Link. We get to the yellow here. We get to the yellow, and our C is really, really well modded. He's got 190k health after mods before any like the bonuses or whatnot. So we're able to kill Hoda, we're able to kill Shock, we're able to kill off all the sides. That's really helpful, because now they can't use the ability to block or to deal max damage based on protection. So that was really, really crappy banners. That sucked a lot, actually, the banners from it. But again, I was trying to conserve Watt there. If we had taken a Watt, that would have been about 13 more banners. Now we get to do this fight again, and we're trying Grandmaster Yoda for the first time. This felt really smooth. Granted, Mace really makes things a lot easier. Again, with him being the weakest character, he's constantly being called in to assist, and every single time he's called in to assist, he's doing significantly less damage than, say, Cat or Padme or whoever. So this goes just about as well as you'd think it would, because we've actually been using this counter on a lot of teams that have GK, with Jedi Knight Luke in there and Jedi Knight Revan, even with our slightly low relic levels. Or Jedi Knight Luke, well, Jedi Knight Luke is fine, actually. Jedi Knight Revan is only R1, and then Jolie is R4, but that being said, we're able to get through Cat before they even get to ult, so that's pretty huge. And really not sure what's ideal here, but what we ended up doing, we end up going after kind of Ahsoka. I think really the correct move though was Padme, because her constant giving of the protection up can kind of lead to timeout sometimes. We're going after Mace though, just because we're kind of forced to. We should get all here in a second. Yeah, here's where we go all in on Ahsoka, which I don't think that was ideal. I think it would have been better to go after Padme. But as you guys can see here, it doesn't end up being that big of a deal. We're able to cut her down really quickly despite Padme's bonus protection. Keep spreading around the bus for fun. And now they're down to like a very little amount of damage. Like they only pretty much have JMK to do any type of damage. He's not putting out that much. So at this point, we just start trying to go for protection back. We're going to leave Mace for last just because he does literally nothing. Completely useless. Sorry, buddy. And I'm trying to see what characters need protection. So Jedi Knight Luke is full. Grandmaster Yoda's full. And then we keep trying to call that character with the lead ability, because the lead ability will give, I think it's like 5% max protection back. So that's really, really nice. That's really what we're going for, to try to max banners here, especially after the amount we lost with C in the last match. So we're able to take him out completely. This is actually, I'm pretty impressed with this. We're able to get full protection banners on every character except JML, which is hard to do without a really good protection recovery character like Hodo or Shock. So yeah, 64 batters ain't bad against JMK. This one, I did a lot of debating on. So we're going to take in our Aura Sing versus their Dash team, and we do outspeed them. Obviously, the rest of this would be very, very risky. We had to take an Aura because I didn't know who the whatchamacallit would go on for the contract, and I didn't want to have to keep hitting scoundrels and people getting turns, and then because really if Dash gets a turn against us, we are just hosed. So I did get my turn meter, not my turn meter, but my turn order correct with this whole Aura thing, thanks to Endall's spreadsheet. We'll ping for that. And so we're able to get the Annihilate immediately before Dash. The Dash was kind of fast. It was like, I think it was like 333 after his 333 after his whatchamacallit, his lead bonus. So we're getting to go here. This is pretty neat. And once Dash is gone, despite our really, really low gear on this team, like Grief and Mando are both gear 12, or is gear 11 4-star. But really, once Dash is out, this team just doesn't have a leg to go on, at least in this present comp. If maybe Kier were here, they would have stand a little bit more of a shot, but yeah, Young Han is, even at R5, he's not really able to dish enough damage out to get through BAM. I guess Vandor got a pretty good hit there. Yeah, at this point, it ends up just becoming the waiting game. I'm trying to figure out which character we want to try to get turn meter from. Kind of trying to balance things between the two tanks, because they both do different annoying things. We end up getting the Disintegrate off on Vandor, and that's really all she wrote. Because at this point, they can't revive, they can't really do anything. And especially with the counters, that helps a lot. Yeah, pretty much no damage on our team, but look at our look at 4-star Orgo there with the 40k hit. Yeah, this battle just keeps going. Really not a whole lot to it. I think as long as you have your turn order right, you know you can get your Annihilate out at the right time. That's really all it's going to take. YOLO bit it to thermal, so that was cool. Don't say that every day. All right, yep. That fight was actually really clutch. We were debating a while for what team to use there. We get to the back wall. There's a Mon Mothma with Kyle Katarn, so we know immediately what to do when we see that. We go ahead and take in this fun little gang. There's really not much to say about this fight. I think we are learning about it. If you're wanting to do this wildly under-geared, which in this case we did, it's gear 11s, gear 12s versus most of this team is Relic, and we've done it against an R7 team before. One of the things I think is key is to keep the characters to facilitate attacks out of turn there. So Pow and Hoth Rebel Scout, you really want those two to stay. The other two need to die, because what I've kind of learned, I don't really think it's a huge win condition, assuming you're geared. But if you kill off the other sides too quickly, and you'll notice I even stopped doing the AoEs here at some point, specifically so don't kill them. If you kill off the sides, and it's just Kara, and she gets to use her AoE stun, and then nobody really assists her to get turn meter health, it can start to go south. Not super quick, but over a while. So yeah, we pulled back our AoEs. Once Kara was dead, we brought him back, and we were able to work down Kyle Katarn here pretty well. Another AoE on him. Get Death Mark just for him to cleanse it. Well, I guess Mon Mothma cleansed it, but I think that happened last time too, and that was really annoying. But Team goes down as it always does. No gear required. He put down a really, really good crew team. Crew, Hux, Lobster. Actually, I use this team a ton. I use this team a ton on defense just because most of the stuff that SLKR needs to do at end game, he doesn't need first order to do it. I went ahead and took Bad Batch here. Bad Batch is very much what I call a hard counter. A Hux starts everyone with advantage, so you just get a free 5 buffs to go with, and then, I mean, just everything about the team, you just melt them. Like, crew does not handle true damage very well. They don't handle daze well. They don't handle healing immunity well. It's just, it's really everything you need to beat it. Now, we got to his back wall. We saw they didn't have Lord Vader there. So we're now aiming for the full clear. Like I kind of showed you guys previously that we put our JMK up front. And this is kind of messy now because if he has his Lord Vader on offense, he can beat our JMK. That was the first thing that I thought when this happened because he put JML, he put Rey, and he put JMK on defense. So I was kind of thinking, oh, he doesn't really have anything to beat our JMK. And then we got to the back and Lord Vader and Maul aren't there. So that's when we started to get a little worried. So I went ahead and took in this SLKR comp against Rey. I'm not going to try to pretend or vouch for this comp at all here. It's SLKR versus Rey is going to be the same time every single time, regardless of how you do it, or regardless of the team comp you take in. It's always going to be SLKR standing alone, and you're pretty much always going to win. Granted, you don't do something pretty bad. This Rey was really well modded. She had a ton of offense. I might notice that by the way she took out 3 characters at once with her ult there. I think she was just shy of 12k, and she's only R7. So we were looking at this guy's mod that he had some really good mods. He had a plus 28 offense arrow, which was just astounding. So pretty much, I wasn't too worried here in this fight because we only needed to make sure that we procced our ult before she gets to her second one, so we don't have to tank it as a single man. And it ends up not really even being necessary because SLKR just killed her, which is nice. We're not going to end up using Bastila against this GG team. We've done this several times now. Every single time they put JMK in, we have to use our Super Jedi team against it. This is really a great solution because this team is typically very, very heavy banner stripper. It's really hard to get through this fight without them stripping banners. And Bastila leads is one of the teams that can do it just because you have so much. You have so much survivability in the very beginning. So we go immediately, take out TK, or T3. The reason for that is I didn't want any of these debuffs to actually give Grievous any offense. And then we're just taking out all of his droids one turn after another. We're trying not to let Grievous take a natural turn. We were only wanting to get the bonus turns because he's going to get those no matter what. Luckily, we had the ability to block on IPD there, and he didn't get to blow someone up. Yeah, so we get to this point in the game, and it looks kind of like everyone's all on protection, but they actually still all have the protection up. Cam, very awkwardly, I was trying to pull our punches here with Cam so he didn't take Grievous out of stun when he lost full health. But there's just really no way around it. All of Cam's attacks do a lot of damage. I guess maybe I could have gone to defensive mode. That might have worked, but ultimately really not that big of a deal. 65, didn't lose any protection. So again, we saw they didn't have Lord Vader in the back, so I'm starting to get a little weary that he's going to full clear us, and this is all going to come down to efficiency. So we should try to start to undersize a little bit. Nothing too drastic. So there is this Mandalorian team. This is pretty clear evidence that he wanted to do something with Maul on offense, so he put him with Bo-Katan. Really just a ginormous step down in terms of teams from Maul to Bo-Katan. It's night and day. We wouldn't have been able to undersize versus we wouldn't have been able to undersize versus the Maul comp just because they toss the taunt around. You can't really focus on someone to gain turn meter. So we got 66 there, and then we actually had a lot of teams left when we were going up against Spam. We still had GG Newt, we still had Qui-Gon Jinn, we still had Grievous, and we did a little bit of research on swh.gg just to see which of those counters typically lands with the most amount. And Gas came up pretty consistently as always getting 60 versus it, whereas Qui-Gon Jinn kind of had an average of 59. A lot of that, I imagine, revolves around Bam getting out healing immunity. If Bam gets out healing immunity at the wrong time and they kill Qui-Gon Jinn, nobody gets it back. And that's actually happened to us a time before. So this match, really, there isn't... And this is quite frankly, it's overkill. Gas is overall a better team than Bam is, so you don't have a whole lot to worry about. We're able to kind of knock him off his rocker there. Have to go after Quill now so that IG actually becomes killable. That's not that hard either. Especially being able to reduce everyone's max health with gas. I really love that mechanic. That mechanic has aged very well. It is a shame you can't do it to GLs anymore, though, so that's not fun. One big bummer about gas on offense is you can't regain protection, so not a huge fan of that, but what can you do? I think we actually took gas. I didn't know exactly what he was going to set on defense, so we took gas on the very off chance that we would need it to be Dash, and we needed our bounty hunter team to beat Darth Revan. Ended up not being the case at all. Yeah, we got a clear shot on S tier with the Execute, went ahead and took it, and then just beat the tar out of everyone else. Worked pretty well. All right, now we have this Phasma team, and again, kind of what we do with the Imperial Troopers, we're trying to undersize here. We're trying to just get as many banners as we can, and I think our choice who got left out was Gideon. I didn't think we really would need to reduce their turn meter. I figured most of them would have been dead by the time he actually even got to do anything, so does end up more or less being the case. We took Thrawn just in case they get a hit off on someone, and we end up needing the protection recovery. But Marjade, who never lands a stun for me. Oh, he does not land a stun. But doesn't really matter. We got the quadruple, as we're calling it, stun on them. We got a little machine gun palp here to clean everything up. I'm gonna miss this team. Like I said, once we get Lord Vader and Starkiller, this team is just kind of gonna go away. It's gonna get absorbed by two superior teams. Got the ships. He put Executor down, which is fantastic. Better than Negotiator, as always. So we're gonna go ahead and take him to Levelance versus that. Really standard what we normally do. I did learn something in this battle. Someone in chat was pretty smart. I think it was Sim, who told me we end up bringing in Ebonhawk at a later point, and my first instinct is to use Ebonhawk's middle ability. And since we didn't need the chaff, or however you call it, apparently the correct move is to actually do the basic for turn meter gain. I'm not sure if that would have changed the eventual outcome here, but it was something that I really didn't know about this counter too much, and that I learned through it. But everything's going pretty well. They put in IG 2000, yeah, that's his name, in here instead of what's his face. Instead of the Ebonhawk, which I think the strategy behind that is because Ebonhawk's reinforcement is really, really good with Retribution. It becomes really hard to get through them. But then they brought in Slave 1 first, which, okay, I'll take it. We got the target right on IG-11. We actually were able to kill him despite a couple of dodges. So from my point of view right here, this was going really well. We got one kill out. They don't have their contract yet. So we bring in Ebonhawk. Now, this is where I think we kind of misplayed. We would have been better off probably using the first ability. Instead, we decided to remove evasion from Slave 1, which in reality, he had evasion down, so really kind of double and not necessary. Houndstooth is now ability blocked, so that kind of gives us freedom for him to get a turn in and not to matter. They finally brought in Xanadu Blood, gives a ton of turn meter here. Just trying to target someone who doesn't have buzz droids so that we don't wipe them off. And then we're able to take out Slave 1. So this is looking really, really good. We've now killed Slave 1 and IG 2000. So even if this ends up in a fail, it's going to be a very easy cleanup because they only have 3 characters to really go off of. They go ahead and burn their AoE there. Does kill, what's his face? Hyena, that sucks. But we are able to maintain, I believe that's Spy out there. So just trying to go right for... We're trying to go right for Houndstooth just to get him out because that'll make a cleanup really easy. We call in Soldier just for the free assist because of the buzz droids that should kill him. Going after Bam here now, and now this is where, yeah, they get their ultimates. And what almost was will not be, because then they were immediately killed by Geonosians, and that's game. I really wasn't mad about that though, because I mean that's a guaranteed 2-shot. They don't have Houndstooth, and they have a really weak Razor Crest and Xanadu Blood, so made for a pretty darn easy outcome. We go ahead and take in First Order versus this Empire team. We've gone against this Empire team a lot. It hasn't given us quite really any issues just because we're able to kill the tank right out the beginning by giving 3 turns to the Silencer. And we didn't even get any. This was actually really fortunate. I think the first time I've seen this. We didn't get any thermal detonators on Silencer. So he doesn't get dazed, and we just keep giving him turn meter here. Not quite. It might be here. I do make one pretty crucial misplay at some point. I don't think it was quite yet, but we have the shuttle's turn here, and we use the one that zaps turn meter on Silencer at some point. which is not great. He's the one that you always want to have turn meter coming to. You don't want to be taking it away from him. So we didn't have days here, so we went ahead and took in Jedi Consular just for the extra assist. Want to get Silencer pretty much as juiced up as possible. They did bring in Shuttle at this point though, and that really stinks. So yeah, this is I think where we put the ability block here. I think we went for the ability block. Oh yeah, so we zapped turn meter from Silencer. I was like, why didn't he get turn meter? And then I remembered, oh yeah, that's not really how that works. So we're able to give it back to him here. Went for the basic just because he had target lock, and we want to keep building on that. Want to keep building our offense. Because even with Palp Shuttle here, if you can get his offense high enough, he does just start one-shotting everyone. We didn't have advantage there, so we held the other ability back. More turn meter to everyone. I'm really, really excited for the shuttle. I'm really, really excited. Not the shuttle, sorry. The TIE Echelon. It's going to allow us to have an actual tank. And this... Number one, this match will go 10 times smoother, but on top of that, we'll be able to beat much bigger targets with First Order. So yeah, really, really excited for that. Able to remove all that stuff off of him and just go right after Shuttle. Shuttle's still super durable, but I like Sunfac in here. We've got the multiple stuns going on all of them. We can get a basic going on TIE Shuttle, kill him, and yeah, from here, it's pretty much game. Basic is all... Oh, man, he dodged. I was going to say, basic is all we really need. I'll pass the turn back to him. 200k hit, or 200,000k hit. I think I wanted to get rid of the retribution. I don't know, we just went for that move. And he's dead. So that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and take in Rebels here to clean up. And we do get to see a pretty fantastic misplay by the AI here. I laughed so much when we saw this live. They had the big heal, and they had a perfectly healed character. And they had a character that was near death, and they healed the perfectly healed character. So, gotta love the AI being the AI. And then, of course, we land the Disruptor at the perfect moment that we do not need it. All other moments we typically do, we didn't get to use it. So we're able to take him down pretty easily here. Like I said, it wasn't going to be hard. There were only 2 ships to begin with, and I think their AoE was also on cooldown. So we'll bring in Cassian just to get the extra assist to just get Xanadu Blood out of there real quick. Still kind of learning what Rebels actually can do. And that's pretty much it for the most part. So that's the last team there. And this ends up being the final board. This ends up being the final board. We can't really look at it right now because there's a very small window to actually look at the review. But basically, without going into great detail, because we can't, he was able to one-shot every single thing that was on the front wall. And he took 4 attempts to get through Executor. And then he just couldn't clear Negotiator after that. And then Mon Mothma actually held. She got 1 hold. So I'm not really sure what he tried there, but I think either one of those really solidified the win. So that's pretty much going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for those who watched. This is now... Actually, probably should say one more thing about this before going forward. So we were able to... Yeah, this is something I wanted to mention. We were able to actually go all the way here with this league. And this league was really, really challenging. We were up against all 6 GL opponents. Half of them had a Star Killer. 2 of them had 300 more relic levels than us. And these aren't bad players that are just dropping. We're able to actually compete with these big guys. So for any of you who are constantly getting these roster mismatches, don't get discouraged. There are going to be losses, but there are ways to beat them. So this is a really good week. I thought this was going to be a straight 0-3 just because we're now in the top 600, which is really, really scary. So we'll see how this next week goes. It'll probably get us knocked down. But that being said, hopefully I listen to the amount of advice. And until the next time, stay awesome.